Today is August 5th, 2008. We're at the home of Mr. Burdette, Woodward, at his home in Fort Collins, Colorado. My name is Brad Hoops. I'm the interviewer for the Northern Colorado Veterans History Project. Welcome, Mr. Woodward, and thanks for participating today.
You're welcome.
Let's start out, if we could. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your date of birth, where you were born, a little bit about your family.
Well, you mean my family?
Your
that
folks
I grew
and
up
siblings,
with?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I was born on the 15th of June of 1915, and I had three younger brothers, and one of them had bad health. He was called several times, never went to the Army, and that was my second brother. The brother just younger than I was, I had the great experience of the day I was arrived in the camp where I was going to be discharged from. That was Fort Sheridan, Colorado. And at Fort Sheridan, Illinois. I'm sorry, I said Colorado.
That's fine. Uh-huh.
And I met my brother. He was just going in, but he was leading a company of men down to eat. And just when I got to that same place to eat, we saw each other and we just ran toward each other.
So you just by chance you ran into each other, is that?
Yes, sir. And my brother said to well, it was practically a company. He said to somebody, "Take over. I'm going to eat with my brother."
I'll be darned. So you were born in Illinois?
Born and raised in Illinois, yeah.
And what did your father do?
My dad, when I was 7 years old, my dad took the job as the groundskeeper at the country club. And at 13 years old, I went to work for him. I was 13. And what I did was run the sprinklers at night when I went to work. But I was up on his tractor that he mowed the grass with when I was 7 years old, and when I was 9 years old, I could drive that tractor and mow grass too. And then when I was 13, I went to work. And when the days I wasn't running the sprinklers, I was over there working with the men full time, that mowing grass and digging dirt and changing cups in the greens and things like that.
Would that be right during the period of the Great Depression? Wouldn't it have been?
That was right in the middle of the Great Depression.
Can you describe what that period of time was like,
Well,
growing
yeah.
up through the Depression?
So that Depression, that's when I dropped out of high school. When that Depression came, and that's when I went to work for my dad, and I got the same wages that the other help was getting, and so I had to be able to do a day's work, and I was.
So you dropped out of school to help your dad support the family.
That's right.
Yeah. Huh. Well, let's move then. And then when did you enter the military?
I entered the military 9 months before Pearl Harbor. I was in the National Guard, and we went to Camp Force, Tennessee, and that was on the 5th day of March of 1941.
Now, did you enlist, or were you part of the pre-war draft?
I was in the National Guard, and that's when the 33rd Division of the National Guard went to camp permanently.
Now, what made you decide to join the National Guard? I mean, what?
Just to make a little extra money.
Okay.
That's why I joined the main reason. But I'm never sorry the way things worked out.
Yeah, yeah. So you said you were in the National Guard for 9 months, and then the war broke out. Now, did you have an idea during that time that we were eventually going to go into war, or what were?
Yeah, that's why the National Guard, 33rd Division of the Illinois National Guard that's why we went to camp. They knew this was going to break sooner or later, because the war was going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Before we had our problems.
Yeah. Do you remember where you were and what you were thinking when you heard Pearl Harbor had been bombed?
Yes, sir, I sure did. And I'm going to tell you why. And this is one of the stories. One night, we were they had maneuvers of the Army in Tennessee, not Tennessee, but Arkansas and Louisiana. And one night we walked 38 miles. And I said to myself, if I can ever get out of this infantry, I'm going to do it, because 38 miles is a heck of a long walk. And I got that opportunity, and when that come up, I volunteered, and didn't know what I was going to get into. But what I actually got into was the Amphibious Engineers.
Oh, geez.
That's what it was. And it was a combat engineer outfit. And I never was sorry, because I never had to walk 38 miles in one night again after that.
Now, the Amphibious Engineers, was this still within the Army, or did you jump over to the Navy, or what service branch?
That's the first ones on the beach and the last ones to leave.
But you're still part of the Army, correct? Or did you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It was an outfit, and it tells it on that thing.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And, but I never was sorry I made the change. And when we went to Anzio, I'm just sure that I was the first person to step on the beach in battle when we went to battle against the Germans.
Yeah.
Because they had control there at Anzio.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's back up a little bit. Okay, so tell a little bit. Let's start then from when you were going to talk a little bit about Pearl Harbor when it was bombed. Remember where you were at and when you heard the news?
What? Yeah, I was in Camp Force, Tennessee with the National Guard.
And then how soon after that did you switch over to the Amphibious Engineers?
Well, I don't know just how long that was, but because I can't remember the date that I went to made that change. It was in probably around August sometime when I made that change.
Okay. And where did you go from there for your training and such?
I can't remember the name of the camp. Well, I met them and first got into them. Went from Camp Forest, Tennessee, up into it was up there north of New York someplace.
Oh, okay, okay. So this was an entirely brand new
brand new outfit.
New outfit.
Yeah.
So it was new to everybody then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And what kind of training would you prepare for something like that? And what were your duties?
The things that we had to do when we landed on the beach. One of them was to help the other troops get in there. And that was our prepare, like lay a wire across the beach so the trucks wouldn't
Okay. Sink in the sand?
sink in the sand and such things as that. And help to get the supplies coming in over
Gotcha,
the
okay.
beach, and to help the troops get over the beach. That was our job. Now we had to have some of them. They had to have a little protection, and I happened to come from the infantry into the combat engineers there, and so when I did that, I really didn't do a lot of that work, but our company engineers did. But I was responsible for protecting them.
Okay, okay.
And I'd already reached sergeant. I was a sergeant.
Well, when you volunteered, you said that you were just glad to be out of marching, but you didn't know what you were getting into. Once you realized what you got into, did you have any concerns or worries about? No?
It didn't bother me, but
Is that right?
It didn't
Yeah.
bother me
Yeah.
a bit. No, I just the company commander seemed to like me, and I liked that company commander, and I had an opportunity to be transferred to another outfit that if I wanted to go, and I said no. He said, well, he said the first thing you'll get is you'll get a raise in rank. And I said, the raise in rank don't bother me a bit. I want to stay right where I'm at. That's what I told the captain.
Huh.
And he said, okay, if you don't want a raise in rank. In fact, they'd already given it to me. And I told him, no, take it off.
Is that right?
Yes, they did.
Huh.
I said, yeah, he gave me a rank. I was going to be sergeant first class. And I said, no, I want to stay with the gang I'm with.
Yeah, pretty good group of guys, huh? Yeah. So now, from your training in New York, then did you ship off to Europe, or where did you go from New York?
No, we went down south and did some training down there at Virginia Beach.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Virginia Beach. And that was a good place, and that's where we sailed from, too, was from Virginia Beach.
Now, during this time that you were kind of skipping all over the country, before you shipped out overseas, did you have a chance to go home for leave, or?
No.
No?
No, chance for going home.
Well, let's.
I did, while I was in the Army, get to go home on a furlough. And I was away from my company for almost 4 months.
Is that right?
Just going home on that furlough.
Huh.
Yeah. And it was on Christmas time in 1944.
So you came back, you were over in Europe and you came back for a furlough?
I came home on a furlough, yeah.
Huh, I'll be darned. Well,
Well, that was wonderful. Coming home on that furlough. And the only thing that bothered us a little bit, there was 6 of us that was going to go to Fort Sheridan. And so we all hung together all the time, the 6 of us that was going to go to Fort Sheridan. And so what bothered us the most was seasickness. I got seasick every time I got on the boat.
well, that was going to be my next question. I was going to ask you to talk about the ship crossing, the Atlantic crossing over. I mean, here you are, an Illinois boy, growing up in the prairie. You didn't get your sea legs, I take it?
I got seasick on every boat I ever rode on. But
what were conditions like on the ship going over? I've heard horror stories
well,
about.
we thought we was going to go direct from France to going to sail right there from Marseille, France, to go to the United States. Didn't work that way. They took us to Naples, and also on the ship at that same time was a lot of Italian prisoners.
Oh, so this was coming when you came back.
No, this was for going home on the furlough.
Okay, let's talk about when you first sailed out from Virginia heading to Europe. What was that?
It didn't bother me at all.
Oh, you didn't really.
I got seasick, but again, went down and got some paregoric or something. I got over it.
Was there any worries about U-boats or anything at that time?
Yeah, we had destroyer escorts following our ship going over. And I watched them there one day when they seen them sink a sub.
Is that right?
Yeah. And you could tell when they hit it, because of all the debris that went up in the air. We knew that's what it was. They'd sunk a ship sub there behind us.
Did it ever worry you as you were crossing over that you were going to get hit by a torpedo? Or
no, he was always so darn glad to go to bed and go to sleep.
Is that
never
right?
worried about it at all.
So from Virginia, did you go, first to Africa and before the invasion?
That's where we landed. Was
Okay.
We landed in Port Liati in North Africa. That was on the ship going overseas.
Now, what was that experience like, landing in Africa? I mean, that must have...
Well, we got a pretty good it wasn't bad for us, but the fellas that on our ship, we landed at different beaches going in there. In that it wasn't that bad.
Now, was there fighting in Africa, or was the fighting already finished by the time you landed, or did you have was there still fighting going on in Africa when you landed?
Oh, there was still.
Oh, it was. Oh, okay. So that was your first experience of battle then, was landing in Africa?
That's Port Liati. That's why we wanted to get in there. That's why we landed where we did. But that wasn't. It wasn't that bad. But we did have some trouble with planes overhead. And we didn't land in there. We weren't in there very long. But I say that was my job, was to protect the people that had to work.
What did you have? A machine gun, or what was your?
No, I had machine gunners and mortars both.
Okay.
And then later on, I'd probably tell you something about that again.
Okay. How going into battle, did that, was your training, did it prepare you for battle, or was the training anywhere close to what actual battle is like?
Well, see, actually, when we landed in North Africa there, we had to fight French soldiers to get in there.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And that was the first step. And that's when the English was fighting the Germans, trying to keep them out of Egypt at that time.
Huh. So it was the French that were friendly to the Germans, or what?
No, there was two generals I can't remember their name.
Oh, that's fine.
Anyhow, this one general didn't want us to land in Africa, but the other one did. And it's the one that wanted us to land there that we, well, he's the one that had enough control anyhow that we got in there.
Huh.
I mean, and he had control while we were in there, in North Africa. And that was the first. And well, it's some of the stuff's just a little bit hard to remember.
Oh, that's fine. It's so long ago. That's understandable. Well, we'll continue on here. We'll finish up here with when we stopped. We were talking about the invasion and your first invasion in Africa. You said you'd fought the French initially, and that you came across some. You were saying you came across some Spanish soldiers. You talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, they joined up with us. So, well, later on it takes, but that was after we didn't have them after we left and went back to when we made the invasion of Sicily.
How long were you in Africa after the invasion there before you left for Sicily? Were you there for a while, or roughly?
Oh yeah, we did a lot of work in hauling the supplies in to the people up there too, because they're pretty short on food and stuff like that. We held even haul stuff in for the citizens there.
What was it like? Once again, here's a boy that grew up in Illinois. Back then, I don't think a person really traveled too far from home, and now you find yourself in Africa. What was that experience like?
Kind of a thrill, but it's nothing to. You don't. One thing about it, you'd always rather be home.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's put it that way. But then, of course, there was thousands of others. So. And
what were living conditions like for you?
always good.
Oh, really? Yeah.
My outfit always come up. We always had food, except that was one story I was going to tell you.
Oh, when we get to Anzio?
Well, it wasn't my outfit that was hurting. The story I was going to tell you about was when Patton made a big long drive through France and got away up there ahead of us, and I was in this one when the reason I had to be with this group I was with. We were planning on how we were going to protect our bridge from sabotage.
Okay.
That was the reason for that one. And so well, there was about 30 people up there, different people, and I think, I'm not sure, but I think that there was, I don't know, somewhere around 30.
Yeah, okay.
And we were making this plans, and this was when we were going to attack my company was going to build a bridge over the Rhine River north of Mannheim, and we wanted to protect it from sabotage. So they sent me with this group, and 1, 2, 3, I had 6 of my men, because I was a sergeant. And Patton was way out ahead. And the lieutenant come to me and said, we don't have any food. Have you got any ideas at all? He said, we don't have anything for now for supper, or we won't have anything for breakfast. And I said, yeah, let's go fishing. So, he said we couldn't do that. Nobody's got any lines or fishing tackle of any kind, he said. And I said, if we got TNT? He said, yes, yeah. He said, we got some TNT. And I said, let's go fishing there. He said, are you kidding? I said, no. I said, give me 6 men in a truck, and we'll go down over here on the Moselle River, and we'll get some fish. And so we did that. And so we out there waiting in the river, and light up a piece, little cube of TNT, toss it in the water, bang, and you'd see a bunch of fish come up. Well, but the thing about it was, it made noise along it. It made noise, and the French people come out to see what was causing all the noise. And when they come out there, and there's a fish that was going through us, so they got behind us and they picked up the fish. And by golly, we had fish for dinner, or fish that night, and a fish for breakfast, and then finally there was a food truck come along and dropped off food for us.
Oh, be darned.
That was the next morning.
Oh, that's a great story.
So it was just those two. Well, I told that one in our church, and they sure got it. But the trouble is, every time somebody repeated it, they'd always repeat say a different river or what. The preacher said in his sermon, telling about it, he said the Rhine River, another one said another river. But it was the Moselle River in France where that happened.
Well, let's back up then. So back up your, now out of Africa, you said your next invasion was Sicily. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, that's where the first, when we was going in, it was kind of rough. It was, we got a heck of a well, that's enemy planes that were coming down on us and firing at us when we were trying to get off the. Well, I was sitting in a boat there, in an English boat. It was an English with English sailors, and it was we got a real good hammer right there, Sicily. And I found out later that we got on the beach in Italy, and then we got a good hammering going in, and then we also got our own men flying in. And we didn't know that they were flying in and they're dropping in parachutes, you know. And they, well, there's some of them got shot down, some of our own men got shot down.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe for us, particularly like myself who's never been in battle, what it's like? I mean, how do you deal with the fear? And I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like to be attacked by German airplanes and mortar, and how do you function? How does a person function?
Shoot back if you can. And this time we've even shot at them with our own machine guns. And then planes come over. But then again, are we under the thing now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you see your own planes up there and your own planes, you don't shoot. But if it's well, like when you landed on things like that, and there wasn't none of our planes there, why? See, like at Salerno. Salerno never got a pounding before the troops landed. Never did. And
Did you had the planes attacking from above? Did you have much resistance on the beach from the Germans? Was there much resistance from the Germans on the beach when you landed, or was it mostly just the airplanes that were giving you trouble?
well, no, like at Anzio, when we were stationed there, fighting there at Anzio later on, that's after we got into Italy then, you know. Why, there was, well, I don't know, we got plane resistance there, just living there. And well, it's just one of those things, it's your first one on the beach and it's the last one off.
That's your motto for the combat engineers, huh? So from Sicily then, you crossed over and went to Anzio was your next invasion?
No, we had to get Italy first.
Oh, that's right, okay.
We had to get Italy. The next stop was Salerno. And that's where we got another good dose of overhead stuff there at Salerno. And our job at Salerno, after we got on the beach mostly, was because there was other troops landed there before we did. But we got on in our, they had, you never seen such a big, but our job there was guarding all the gas that was brought in and stored up. That was our job.
Oh, jeez.
And when you sent and of course, we would send them out to walk in back and forth, you know, in the thing, and where all this gas was stored and laid out. And you send a guard out, and they were supposed to be on for 2 hours and off for 4. And you send them guards out, and when they made their trip around, you sent another one, so that you'd have more than one out there. But when he made his rounds, he was ready for his 2-hour rest, or his 4-hour rest, and but you'd send them out so there would be more than one in amongst all this gas that was stored there. It was a huge thing. And then we had, that was another problem, one of the problems we ran into was that nobody took it. They didn't want any of our own troops coming back there getting gas. And there was a lot of officers that pull up with their Jeeps and want to, we can't give it to you. Not until we get different orders. You can't give it to you.
Yeah.
So there's things happen there just like they do in civilian life, and you just got to think, well, what are you going to do? And it's just like if you're the boss of something, like you just got to use your own judgment on what to do.
Yeah.
And that one of them was like, but see, I was in that infantry for all that time before I got into got into the Amphibious Engineers, and so I had that infantry training, and there's a lot of things you had to do like you did when you was in the infantry. And you was on your own. And I was going to tell you about one time when I was in Anzio. I don't know why they sent me down, but they sent me in a Jeep, and the guy let me off, and he said, the guy let me off there in a Jeep, and he said, the colonel should be here any minute. And he said, you're supposed to talk to the colonel about how to enlarge the port. The colonel, he said, at Anzio, the colonel's thinking maybe we could bring the ships in instead of having to go so far out to sea. They had to go out with ducks to unload there at Anzio, you know. And, well, they always did. But I say that's the only way they got to do it. But anyhow, when the colonel come and I told the colonel who I was, and I said, they sent me down here to talk with you about enlarging this port. And he said, yeah, he said, we want to try to figure out something way to make this port where we could bring a ship clear in instead of having to bring it in with ducks. And about that time, the colonel was looking things over and that. There was a German shell went over us, lit out in the water just ahead of us. And the captain and the colonel said, you know what? He said that they'd probably be doing this all the time if we brought ships in here. He said maybe we'd be better off doing it the way we were doing it. He said, let's just forget it. And his Jeep driver, he got a big kick out of it. So I went back to camp, and I guess he went back to wherever he was camped. He had all he wanted when that one shell went over, and it just out in the water, just a ways ahead of it. And of course, it would have landed right in the port. And, that conversation didn't last very long. He's seen enough with one shell.
How were the local people, the Italians? Did you interact with the local population much, and how did they treat the Americans?
Well, we never really got to talk to any of them until we got to Anzio. And when we, and then it wasn't not Anzio, Rome. And when we got to Rome, that's the first time we really got to talk to any Italians. Well, we did a little visit in Naples, but really to talk to Italian people, it was Rome, which was the first place we ever really got to visit with them. And then, well, at one time we was building a bridge going to Rome, on the way to Rome, and the people on that live close to the bridge there, we got them to do our laundry for us, and they were short on food too. Everybody was always short on food, and so we'd trade them some of our food for something that they had. It was that bridge building was that was one of our main things that we did.
So yeah, once you got off the beach and inland, your regiment's main purpose was to build bridges and such.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the whole time you were protecting the engineers
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
That's the way it was. That was my job, to protect them. And the last one I had was that I did protecting the bridge was the one that we built. Our company built, and that was our job, was protecting that bridge from sabotage. Now, when my wife and I went over there we made a visit over to and tried to retrace the steps that we took in Europe.
Oh, wow.
And I got most of them. I was pretty lucky. My daughter-in-law was when my wife and I went over. My son-in-law was working over there, and he was working for the Navy intelligence. That's what he was working with. Her husband was, and so we got to retrace a lot of my steps.
I usually ask that towards the interview, but I guess we'll talk about that now. What was that like? Were you able to recognize a lot of the places you were at?
Oh,
I'm sure it had changed quite a bit since you.
Well, the thing that I showed her, my daughter, the most there was, but eventually, her and her husband went and retraced all my steps, but because I told her, and that I wished I could, and she said, "Well, we'll do it for you, Dad," and he did, and so. It was, in a way, that, it looked where we were there when we were protecting that bridge that we built, and everything it just still looked the same as it did, except there was a bridge up north of us, except when I was there.
Now, let's start. We'll keep trying to track your movement. From where did you go then from Rome? Where did you guys move from Rome?
We went up north in Rome. North of Rome, went up there quite a ways, Civitavecchia, and we got that far up. Then we went back to Salerno, clear back to Salerno again.
Huh.
And that was
Why did you guys go back to Salerno?
well, we went back there and just more or less took it pretty easy, and then we started through. Well, I say that's. When we went back to Salerno, was way before we made the invasion of southern France. See, we made an invasion into southern, we invaded the Riviera into France. And I'd say that's where we.
So you kind of little R&R and prepared for the invasion of southern France from Salerno?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So boy, up to this point, how many invasions had you been part of? Africa, Sicily, Naples, Anzio. This is like your 5th or 6th invasion.
No, it's 5 is what it was.
5?
5 invasions.
Oh, jeez.
That's what it says. 5 invasions. 5 invasions and 7 campaigns.
Did they ever get any easier? I mean, did you ever get used to that? I mean, by the 5th, was it?
No, you never did.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
And when I was discharged, I was home, discharged at home 2 days before the Japanese surrendered.
Oh, is that right? Well, we're jumping ahead there. Let's back up again. From France, after the invasion of France, is that when you took your furlough home, or when did you take your furlough back to the States?
No, we were in Germany.
Oh, okay.
We were in Germany.
So from southern France, you guys worked your way up France to Germany? Once again, what were the French people like? Were you able to interact with them? Were they friendly to you, or how did?
No, I don't think the French people were as friendly as what the German people was after they surrendered.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. In fact, I had one when we got in Germany. I had a girlfriend when I got in Germany.
Is that right? What were conditions for you still pretty good as far as food and clothing and housing and?
Yeah, I never had any
Always got
problem.
plenty of sleep and.
No.
No?
Didn't get plenty of sleep.
Okay.
Because I spent so much time on guard.
Oh, okay.
A sergeant of the guard. And when you change those guards, well, unless it was something like the one that I didn't was when we built a bridge there north of Mannheim, Germany. My job then was to protect the bridge from being sabotaged. That's that bridge that was north of Germany. And but I didn't have to change guards there. I worked with I had good machine gunners. We always had good machine gunners. And so I had that, they were down on the beach, and the guards were up about, the mortarman was, I got that training in the thing. They brought me mortars with no sights on them. And so no sights on them. And I was supposed to drop mortars. We were supposed to drop mortars at various intervals, so that they wouldn't know when to expect one coming. I was supposed to do that was what I was supposed to do. And but so anyhow, these three men I had to help me, they'd never fired mortars. They'd never fired any. And so, but they knew I had, so they sent mortars, but just didn't send any sight. The first one I fired went too far. And if this was, we knew that there was some German troops out on an island out there. And that's what I was going to, but as long as they wasn't bothering us, we weren't bothering them. Well, what happened, they didn't have any sights on this mortar, and it went too far. And the first thing we seen was flags waving, white flags flying on the other side. And so that's all I fired was one shot. And well, I continued to do it after we got those guys just to make sure, because there could be some more later on go down there. But there never was. And so anyhow, we had a leaky boat there where we were on our side of the river. And I sent them out. They brought 3 prisoners back with them. And soon when they got back, where there was a house behind us, and we seen a German guy go in it. Well, they said, let's go get him. I said, no, let's wait till he comes out. They said he went in there to find some civilian clothes, I'll bet. And sure enough, I was right. And when he come out, we grabbed him, so we took 4 prisoners. Well, when I was visiting my daughter over there, I was telling her about it. And when she wrote her Christmas letters and told us that my wife and I've been over there, she said, my dad caught 5 prisoners. My dad caught 5. That's what she wrote in her Christmas letter.
Was there a lot of attempts to sabotage the bridge while you were guarding it?
No, really, somebody might have seen something that I didn't see. Was what I had when we were guarding that bridge from sabotage. I had machine gunners down there on the beach, and there was an airplane that flew back and forth, and he regularly.
So you had it pretty well protected.
And I had contact with him too. I had contact with him.
Okay.
That's after that experience I was telling you about, eating and that way. We just went along for the ride and almost always till we got down to southern Germany. And then, of course, we got a job with taking guys out, German prisoners out, and they were clearing minefields. We had the German prisoners clearing minefields down there in southern Germany.
How was it interacting with the Germans, the prisoner, the soldiers?
Oh, we've had them come before Germany officially surrendered. We've had them come and want to give up. And like, especially when we were eating, you had German soldiers come up, and that's why they come up. They was hungry. That was just before the surrender, and of course all the generals from both sides had to get together on that, you know. And the captain would see these Germans come in, and he'd come running down to wherever most of us were. Get them Germans out on the road. Get them out on the road, he said. He said, if they hang around here, we gotta feed them. He said, otherwise. He said, we don't have that much food. So that's about all we did with German soldiers when they were surrendering in droves then.
So there was a general feeling at that point that we were winning the war. War was close to the end. Then did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until it was officially declared over.
Yeah. But let's talk a little bit about your furlough. Back, you said in '44 you were able to come back home on a furlough.
Well, I told you about meeting my brother.
Yeah, tell that story again. That's an interesting story. How did you get chosen for the furlough?
I don't know. I don't know. I just got chosen. There was 6 from. There was 6 of us because one was a captain that went. That got to go home on a furlough. That went. The camp we ended up with was in Fort Sheridan. That's up Chicago, Illinois. Fort Sheridan.
How far away was your hometown from Fort Sheridan then?
Oh, well, it was about 120 miles, because we lived 90. Well, maybe not quite that far, but pretty close to it. And where I lived, we were 90 miles from Chicago.
Okay. So Did your folks know you were coming home?
Yeah, and the thing about it, what bothered my mother was the most is they told us not to call our folks. It said call a relative and have a relative tell your folks. Well, that's what they told us.
Why was that, do you figure?
Well, I don't know, but that's what we were told to do, and I was just following orders. So I called my brother and found out he was in the armies, and I talked to his wife, and my mother was unhappy because I didn't call home, and I said, well, that's what we were told to do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that leads to a question. How was communications between when you were overseas and back home? Were you able to keep in touch pretty regularly,
yeah,
or
yeah, mail was real good.
was it? Yeah,
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 mail.
yeah.
Mail was good, and we ate good. Never had much trouble with eating. The only time when you'd have a little trouble with eating was when you were moving from one place to the other.
Yeah.
And usually when we did something like that, I'd volunteer to help with the kitchen and that, because you had a lot of stuff to load up and.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd help them with it.
So you said altogether you were gone about 4 months on that furlough. I can't remember when you were telling that story if we had the camera on or not, but tell the story about when you got back to, was it Sherman, Camp Sherman, and meeting your brother. You could tell that story again? It's a great story.
Well, we asked for we was up there, it was about to be, I was on a furlough. But my brother had just come in. I didn't know it. And so I'm gonna go into this with the bunch of us that went over, that came home. And that's that 6 I was telling you about, including that captain. And as I get down there, looking down he's come from the opposite direction. And he's got charge of all these newcomers going in the Army, because he was a member of the National Guard. And we saw each other about the same time, and so he ran one way and I run the other direction toward him. And as soon as we got together, and he said to somebody, you take over. My brother and I is going to go out to dinner together.
I'll be darned.
But we didn't. I was looking forward to it after the meal, and he come back over after he'd eaten his supper. He come over and he said, I got a chance to go home. And he said, would you mind? And I said, no, I wouldn't mind a bit. He said, every chance opportunity you get to go home, you go.
Had you been home yet?
Huh?
Had you been home yet yourself?
No,
Oh. You'd just
we-
gotten there.
Yeah, I'd just gotten there and had my supper, and and the next day we were out.
So, so from there you went home. Do you remember coming home and the homecoming and seeing your mom and dad? What that must have been like?
Mm-hmm. And of course, when I went back from that furlough, well, anyhow, I was gone from my company for almost 4 months.
Yeah, yeah.
It took a long time.
Was it hard to go back after?
No.
Oh, you're looking forward to going back to the company?
Yeah. I didn't really look forward to it, but I didn't mind it too
Okay,
much.
okay.
Well, see, I was, when I'd read the newspapers home and read about the war, it looks like we're going ahead all the time. It probably won't be too long. Well, when was it? It was August, or was it July?
44?
Well, anyhow, I was discharged. I told you once. I don't know whether you had that on or not.
I can't remember. I think we were just talking about that. But, yeah. Well,
I was discharged out of the Army 2 days before the Japanese surrender.
okay, so that'd be August of '45. Okay. Well, where was your company when you rejoined them after your furlough? Were you in Germany by then?
No, they was in the very same place I was when I left.
Oh, is that right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That was in France.
Okay.
They, when I went back from that furlough, they were just about the same place they were.
Okay. Do you remember where you were when you heard that the Germans had finally surrendered?
Hmm?
Do you remember where you were when you heard the Germans had finally surrendered?
No, not exactly.
No.
I can't.
No.
But my outfit, my outfit got caught in that battle with the Bulls. They were pinned down for quite a while I was gone.
Oh, well, you were gone. Oh, I'll be darned.
Yeah, they got caught in that battle with the Bulls. In fact, they used Company A went in as infantrymen in Company A, and they had casualties and we lost one there too in that battle of Bulge. We lost one, and when I went back the second time, I wanted to know why this one brother that we had that was killed there in the Battle of Bulge, wanted to know why they had his name on the wall instead of a tombstone. And they told me there that the reason was there was two bodies laying together and they couldn't tell which was which when they picked them up. And so they didn't. They got his name on the wall there in that cemetery.
Well, now, were you aware? You were at home, and obviously, you, through the newsreels and the newspaper, knew about the Battle of the Bulge. But did you know your company was at that time? Did you know they were in the Battle of the Bulge, or?
Not until I got
back.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that there was.
Oh, jeez.
You know, until I got back. But that's where I was. I was
Yeah. Right.
home on that furlough.
Right. Hmm.
See, going home on the furlough and being discharged wasn't too far apart.
No. How far into Germany did your company go before the war ended?
Before the war, we was clear down to the Austrian border.
Is that right?
Yeah, Austrian border. Yeah, that's where we were when they officially surrendered.
And then sometime during that summer, then you guys came back to the States and you were discharged. You had enough points by then to be discharged?
Well, see, yeah, because of being in the National Guard 9 months before.
Oh, right, okay.
I got more points because I spent more time in the Army.
And I imagine you got additional points for all the invasions. Was there
And
points
there
for
was
that?
Another thing I never did figure out, because every time they would send somebody away to something to learn, like I told you, that one where we planned how to protect the bridge from things like that, and then a lot about handling all the things that an engineer has to handle. They sent me off I was off to a school like there one time. And I can't remember just where that was, but they usually send me off, like I told you, meeting the colonel.
Yeah, yeah.
Meeting the colonel down there on the bridge.
You don't know why they chose you?
No, I don't know.
Ah.
But, and in the same way, protecting from sabotage. That's what we was more interested. What I was interested But the rest of my guys was down there working with the British putting a bridge over.
Yeah, yeah. Huh.
Over there north of Manheim.
Huh.
Well, I got to go back and see that bridge anyhow. Well, I think it was in 204 when my wife and I went over there.
You tell about the plane that you were on top of the mountain.
Yeah, we were building a bridge, and my company had moved on to doing something else. But they left me and I think they left me with 6 men. They took half of my squad and left the other half. Yeah, but anyhow, I had a Jewish boy and a boy that was a Greek boy. And the 3 of us went, while I was building this bridge, waiting for a truck to come back. Well, they had 3 guys back there too, and waiting for this truck to come back. We went up and climbed a flat top mountain, and we got up on the top there. Boy, we got some good views of up there. And while we were there, here come a German plane in a circle that never got above us. It was still around the mountain below us. But when we seen that German plane, we made ourselves small, and we wasn't looking anymore, only down.
Wow.
Yeah, just looked down. And well, I should have never done that, but we did. And that was one time when I broke some rules too.
Where was that at? In Germany, or where were you at when you did that?
No, that was in Italy.
Italy? Okay.
Yeah, Italy.
Oh.
Yeah, I never should have. Yeah, that was before we went to Anzio. And the war was going on pretty heavy at that time.
Well, now, around that time period, let me ask you this question. There's always been controversy about the way we did the various invasions, that we probably shouldn't have invaded Rome, and that General Clark made the wrong decision there. Do you have any thoughts on any of that, as far as the way?
Well, that was the idea of the Anzio invasion, is to get into Rome. They were stopped. They were stopped there at Anzio. That was why we invaded Anzio. Germans had control of Anzio.
Uh-huh.
See, what Anzio was a tourist town, like going down to Florida, something like that, one of them towns down in Florida. And it was just a tourist town. And that's where the Germans also sent their, the nice beach I was telling you about, nice beaches and that, and they sent their soldiers there for rest and recreation.
Oh, okay.
And that's what made the Anzio so rough. And then to top it off with, they brought in a railroad gun up there where they were, shooting from a railroad up there, someplace beyond Anzio there. And boy, when that thing started dropping in on you, scared the daylights out of you. I just had one experience, and it was my own fault. But we had a guy there dug in there at Anzio, and where we were, and there were 6 of them. And he dug a big hole, 6 of them living together in that hole. And where I was, it was just 2 of us, but laid behind some big concrete, I don't know what they were, but there's just concrete walls. And then so far from that there'd be another one. But there's a space in between each one, and I don't know why they were built. And we had our kitchen and everything up there where we ate behind that stuff. And but anyhow, I should have never done that. If that plane coming up there and well, let's just say, but that's not what I was talking about now. I walked over there one day. It was so bad that it was coming in that everybody was just staying in their foxhole. But for some reason, the guys in the in this foxhole where there were 6 of them, I got over there at the edge of it, and down shell come in and it hit that foxhole, and it just took everything that they had in it. And what I did, I just laid flat out. And when I got through it, I was looking at a big hole. And another time there was a bunch of sea bees that was there, and they were loaded on ducks, and they were behind us. They wasn't as high up as we were, and we were pretty up there, pretty close to where there was a road running north and south. But these guys, on these ducks were sea bees, and they're sitting on the ducks, and that got shelled, and there was a lot of them got hurt. And then we had to go down there and clean up bodies and things back closer to the beach. But it was just flat ground, and you didn't find much of it in that around the end the other. You didn't find very much flat ground. But there's several of them that got injured. I don't know whether anybody got killed or not, but they were sea bees, and they were just sitting up in those ducks waiting for the order to pull out. And they got hit.
How did you deal with the stress and the fear when things like in Anzio, when it got really bad and the shells were flying everywhere? How do you deal with that? I mean, do you remember what you were thinking?
You get down on the ground and under as much cover as you can get under. That's the only way you can deal with it. So I say that I was in on 5 invasions and 7 campaigns.
Wow.
Did you tell about shooting down parachute shooters coming down?
When we were going heading south in Germany, we was behind we was back at the tail end of the army going down there, pretty much, and anyhow, the group that was fighting that we were going to eventually catch up to was fighting them, ran into these, what they call it, Hitler Young'uns, and they had this, I can't remember the names of some of them Germans, things, but anyhow, they were all just young kids. And they put them, they were the ones who was in the front lines, those young kids were, and most of them. So we did get to see some of that.
Wow.
But we never took part in it. I mean, we never took any action there. We was on our way going. We were following the other ones. And we went up as far north, when we finally got out on Anzio, why we went up as far as Civitavecchia, and they brought us back to Salerno was to send us to southern France. That's why but we went that far north, and then they said, no, you turn around and go down to Salerno. And we had to walk from Salerno to Naples port. I did get to walk that day.
I was going to say, hopefully it was shorter than 38 miles.
Yeah, but I didn't walk 38 miles.
Okay.
But it was still a long walk. And again, I got sick again. And the doctor, I met a doctor there at the port, and he examined me, and he said, you better go to the hospital. I said, I don't want to go to the hospital. Well, he said, really, you're really not sick enough to go to the hospital, to be laying in the hospital. But he said, I don't think you could, if you get on that boat and go to France. Well, he didn't say France.
Yeah.
Because you never knew where you
Right,
were
yeah.
when you got on the boat.
Yeah.
And he said, get on that boat to go to southern France. He said, afraid you won't get enough water. You know, if half a dozen kids spoke up and said, we'll share our water with them. And he said, well, if these boys will share water with you, so you have plenty of water, he said, I think, you know what? The next morning I was jumping off the boat. We was out there, always waiting for the boats to get together before they made the invasion of France. And because those boats they don't sail close to each other. You know.
Other incidents similar to meeting your brother there? Did you meet anybody from your hometown while you were overseas? Ever run into anybody you knew?
Yes, I did.
Tell that story.
I heard that from his mother that he was in Anzio. And the reason I got to hear this, we were allowed to, when we sent mail home, to tell where we were.
Oh, that wasn't that wasn't taken off?
That wasn't blacked out when we were in Anzio.
Oh, is that right?
And so I heard from his mother, and she knew where he was too.
And this was a neighbor of yours?
Yeah, lived directly across the street. And so I went to visit with, see if I could visit with him. And they were all falling out ready to do something, some action that night. And I said, I asked the lieutenant that had charge of him if I could talk to Max Freedy, and he just said, Freedy, fall out. And I said, so I got to visit with Max, and he didn't have to go to the front that night.
I'll be darned.
So, you don't know. I might have saved his life.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah. So after the war, then you went from Europe. You went back to the States, and you were discharged. You said in August of '45, right before the Japanese surrendered. Let's tell your story from there on. Well, I guess my first question would be, how was the transition for you going from military life now back to civilian life? Was it an easy transition for you, or?
Well, yes. This bothered me a little bit. Because I wore a uniform till I got home. You know, I had a uniform on. And fact, I got a new uniform in Fort Sheridan, and it bothered me because when I heard all the whistles blowing in the hometown and the celebration going on, you know, I decided I'd go downtown too. And I was in civilian clothes, and I didn't know a soul. I didn't know anybody. Never seen anybody I knew or anything. I was disappointed that I went away from home.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I just didn't know anybody. Everybody I knew was either in the Army or something. What I'm talking about when I went downtown, that we had one big main street, and that's where everybody else went. And the first thing you knew, there was a parade going on. And I felt lonesome then.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah. It's lonesome.
Did your mom ever talk about how she felt while you were away? Did she worry about you? Did she ever talk about it?
She had three of us to worry about.
Oh, jeez.
And even my dad boy didn't spend much. When I went to Camp Forest, Tennessee, with the National Guard, at the same time my dad left the golf course, and he went to work in a defense plant. But the thing about it, we had, I had one brother that was in New Mexico that got called but never went to the Army. But I had two other brothers there at home. And one of them was in the Air Force, the youngest brother, and then the one I told you about before, he was in the infantry. Mm-hmm. And so when I got home, I was pretty much alone. And even my dad, I was telling you about my dad, they'd send him with sealed orders and not to open them until he got to where they was making the delivery and the train. And then my dad, after he got the things delivered, he was on his own, and he could call my mother and tell her where he was. But so everybody was away from Mom.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Wow.
And three of us in the Army, and the one whose health was bad, he was down in New Mexico with my aunt.
So your mom pretty much went through those years by herself then, alone, huh?
What?
Your mom pretty much was alone through those years.
Yeah, she spent a lot of time by herself in the Army. Because I said Dad wasn't home anymore hardly than we were.
Yeah. So what did you do after you were discharged and you were home now? Where did you go from there? What was?
I went looking for a job right away.
Yeah.
And I got it. In fact, every job I've ever had, I went looking for that job and I got it.
Is that right?
Every job I've ever had. And then I had one that's on that golf course for a long time. So I graduated from high school in 1965.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Fort Collins High School.
Talk a little bit about your careers, or your life after the war, about meeting your wife and your children and your career and.
After my career.
Oh, after the war, your life after the war, I guess.
Well, after life, worked around there in Illinois. I got a job in in a factory where they made these spreaders that go on the end of, went on the end of trucks. They sold a lot of them to the farmers. The farmers spread their manure and that.
Okay,
and so on. And I worked for them a little over a year, and I saw an ad in the paper one day where they wanted the school district wanted to hire some custodians. But I said, well, there's a lot worse job than being a school custodian. And I said, I think I'll go and ask to try and get one. So I went to the superintendent of the schools and talked to him, and he told him I'd like one of them jobs. And he said, well, I want to go phone the principal of the high school. He said, that's where we want one over that time. So that was on and then I was keeping my fingers crossed. Now, will the principal of the high school come over to take me or not? I went over, and I told him what I'd been doing and all the time I spent in the Army and everything. He said, I think you're going to be help to us. They hired me. And I worked for a school district for not quite 33 years.
Is that right?
Because I just worked at the high school just the school term. I worked at the high school during the school term. And one day my boss come over and he said, the school superintendent wants to see you. And I said, oh, what's he want to see me for? And I went over there and he said, don't go back to high school anymore. He said, you're the head custodian at the dumb school. And so I worked for the school district. Well, I was just 3 months short of being 33.
Is that right, huh?
Did you tell them how come you came to Fort Collins?
Yeah, what brought you to Colorado?
Oh, you want to know what brought me to Colorado? Well, I had a brother that had just started. That's when I told you that had bad health. He was down in New Mexico, and they had a new baby. And I'd never been in Colorado before, so I said, it's a good chance for me to go and visit with my brother out there and see the new baby. Well, I got out there to see the new baby, and it's fine, but he was keeping a police dog for somebody. And every time I'd get up to look at that little baby in the crib, that police dog get up too. So I really didn't get to see a whole lot of it. But anyhow, I had a nice visit with my brother. And but they had a reception for me out there. And they had invited, and my brother owned the house that he lived in, and that was because he had a pretty well-to-do father-in-law. And he married one of the teachers in the school where he went to high school. And so it was working out fine. But they had a reception for me when I went out there. And she was there. They had invited Wilda to that reception. Well, I guess Wilda and I fell in love with each other. And a year later, I married her.
I'll be darned. And I think you just said you just celebrated your 61st anniversary here this last weekend?
Yeah,
Sunday.
Sunday?
Sunday.
Yeah. So where was this in Colorado? Where?
It all happened out here in Fort Collins.
Oh, in Fort Collins here. Okay.
Yeah. And I brought my niece with me, and my mother when we were married, and my niece kept asking me if I could go to Colorado with her when she got married, and I never answered her. And finally one day she says, "Uncle Burdette, you spoil me, and you got to take me with you." Well, I had intended to do it all the time because I wanted somebody, my mother, to have company when she went back home. And so I had my mother and my niece. Anyhow, my niece and her husband's living on Social Security now.
So how long have you lived here in Colorado? Did you move, when you got married, did you move to Colorado, or did you guys go back to Illinois?
No, we went back to Illinois for 3 years, and then Wilda didn't mind the winters there in Fort Collins. In fact, we even bought a house there, an unfinished house, and finished that house. And it was the Summers that got her
Yeah.
there in Illinois. And well, it never got any cooler at night than it does in the daytime.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
ain't
the
like
humidity
it is
and-
here, cool
yeah.
off like it does.
Yeah, yeah.
So that took care of that. And Mom had company going home. So.
Well, we got married in Estes Park.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
we married up in Estes Park. And my groomsman, I got his pictures in one down on the other end. My groomsman was, he was an artilleryman, you know, because that's what they were here. He was an artilleryman in the artillery. But the group he was in was always pretty close to wherever we were, either close to them or they were close to us, all during the war overseas.
Was he someone that you met during the war, or knew from home, or how?
We didn't meet him.
No, I met him through her.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
And through telling stories, you realized that you were together overseas then?
What?
It was after you met him and you guys started telling your own stories that you realized that
No,
you...
I didn't even know him until after. I met him after the war.
But I mean, but after you met him and you guys
That's
began
right.
telling your stories, that you realized how close you were together during the
That's
war?
right, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. I never got to see him, but I did the neighbor across the street.
Yeah, right. Hmm. Now, throughout the years, have you kept in touch with people from your company? Did you guys ever have reunions or anything like that?
Yeah, we had reunions, and it finally got so that guys were been coming to the reunion and started to pass away.
Yeah.
See, they didn't all live to be 93.
Right,
like I
right,
did.
Yeah.
But they had reunions every year for a long time.
Is that right? Reunion
Yeah,
every year for...
Yeah, and we'd go. We went
Oh, that's wonderful.
every time they had a reunion.
Uh,
But most of the time they had the reunions down in Florida, down St. Pete. But the last one they had was in, I don't know whether it was in Ohio or, and I didn't get to that one.
okay.
It was either in Ohio or Kentucky, I don't know which it was. But anyhow, it was right along the Ohio River there someplace. Of course,
How do you think your war years, your military experience, how did that affect your life, or what part did that play in your life, do you think, or did it? Or was it?
oh, yeah. Sometimes things would happen, and I'd say, even when I was working for, see, I worked for a school for, I said, just lacking 3 months of being 33. Something would come up, and I'd say, well, that reminds me of something that happened in the Army, and such as that. But they got so thin that they quit having reunions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And that's where their last one was.
yeah. Well, as we start to wind down this interview, is there anything that you wanted to say or talk about, or anything that I didn't ask you about that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I know that there's a lot of people go to the Army, and they just can't wait till they get out and that. But that part never bothered me. I never looked forward to being discharged. I was surprised when I got discharged as quick as I did. I think that's about it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I didn't expect it, because, 2 days before the war was actually over, to be out.
Was there any chance that you would have been shipped over to Japan? Was there talk of your unit going to,
Well,
the Pacific, or?
Oh, yeah, if I would have went back in the National Guard again, because they went over to, they sent me to Korea.
Oh, okay, uh-huh.
They sent the National Guard to Korea. And that was the day that Wilda and I arrived in, when we moved from Illinois.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. Yeah. And, yeah, that was the day we arrived in Illinois. And
What?
we didn't have, Wilda and I were married in Estes Park, and we didn't have very far to start out on our own honeymoon, because she owned some cabins up there.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So you had your honeymoon up in Estes as well?
Yeah, that's where we took part of it. Then we started off. We started off on our honeymoon, and well, we ended up back in Illinois again on our honeymoon.
Yeah.
Well, tell about our honeymoon.
Well, what part do you want me to tell
Well,
about?
we went to the Black Hills, and we went to the Bad Lunch, we went to the Virginia Dells,
Yeah.
Wisconsin Dells.
Yeah, Wisconsin Dells, and that,
That was our honeymoon.
and them Badlands up there, I'd say.
Moving back from here to Illinois.
Hmm.
And I didn't have a bit of trouble when we was in Wisconsin at the Dells. Didn't have a bit of trouble getting through the fat man squeeze.
What's that?
Well, because I've always been thin.
Oh, okay.
I've always been thin and underweight. I did get up to 135 pounds when I was in the Army one time. At one time, I weighed that much.
Huh. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Well, if there's nothing else that you can think of, we'll shut down the interview part of this, and we'll talk about your wall.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much for participating in this, but more importantly, thank you very much for your service to our country.
Oh, well, yeah, there wasn't very many people in the, well, there was two before the war, but I mean, at the time I went in the National Guard, there wasn't very many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my daughter is, I was the, well, it tells her I did, the associate guardian of Job's daughters in Fort Collins for 10 years. I'm the only person that ever did that for 10 years.
Huh.
There's some of them, but there's nobody was with them for 10 years. It's the greatest job I ever had. And this one here, this kind of speaks for itself because Wayne Allard, our
Senator.
senator, well, I was his father's officer when his father was the Grand Master of the Odd Fellows.
Huh.
And she said, can you read it?
Certificate of Merit in recognition of outstanding service rendered for the Independent Order of Odd Fellows, Jurisdiction of Colorado awarded. Burdette Woodward, Guardian Color.
Grand color.
Grand Color Bearer, 10th of October 1968. James Allard, General Officer. And then this one here.
Yeah, that one speaks for itself too.
Okay. And then how about, tell us a little bit about this here.
What?
About this one here.
About this one?
Uh-huh.
Well, I wrote this in down here. You asked about if I had a uniform or anything.
Can you tell us the story about this picture, where it was taken and when? Do you remember?
Yeah, that was taken when I was home on a furlough, on that furlough we talked about.
Okay.
Because see, this was, is that going to bother if I put my hand?
No? Well, please do.
Oh, the writing down here, see, that's when I was in the infantry. And we went in on the March the 5th, 1941. That's when I got in. Wait a minute, I want to make sure it says 41.
Yeah, huh? March 5th, 1941.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the day I went into the Army. When the picture was taken.
So you were in a little over
Almost 5 years.
almost 5 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. And then let's move here to this wonderful display.
Well, my daughter made it for me. She made the display. My daughter and son-in-law.
I don't know how well we'll get
Well,
this.
there's one thing that really don't belong in there. You see a little bronze glove,
Uh-huh.
a little bronze boxing glove?
Uh-huh.
Well, I did some boxing when I was still in graded school, when I was in the 8th grade of school. And that's a third place, it's bronze, that's third place winner
Huh.
in the boxing.
And then how about this plaque below it?
Well, just what it says. Flowing over the Capitol.
So the flag in here is
Yeah.
the flag. Okay. Oh.
That flag up there.
Okay. And this down here describes your service, correct?
Yeah, pretty much tells us. And my daughter had him do that flying over. We better go down there and maybe take a picture of her too. Anyhow, you see that little bronze glove I was talking about.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then, of course, those red ones are, that's engineer insignia.
Okay.
And this up here, well, that was my rank when I was discharged.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah, what looks like an A there,
Uh-huh.
that's I don't know whether that's 7th Army or 5th Army, because I was in both of them. I mean, the whole regiment got changed from the 5th Army to the 7th Army.
Okay. And do the bars stand for the various invasions, for each invasion? The 5 bars on the right?
No, this ribbon over here.
Oh, okay.
Across the middle would probably stand more for that than anything. And then of course, I told you the 2 things are engineer insignias. And no, there's nothing up there that's just shows I was an American soldier. That's about all that shows.
Okay.
And the rank and everything. And let's go down here and look at my daughter. Oh, this is Wilda's daughter, but I raised her from the time she was 5 years old. And she lives in Washington. And right, they own a home in the state of Washington on Comno Island, and they also own a home in Hawaii. And right now they're in Hawaii, and to replace their home. She was born we lived in Illinois 3 years after we were married. And this girl was born on, was it April? When's Mile May's birthday? April? June, yeah.
June 5th.
5th day of June of 1950. And her husband is a water expert. They met at CSU. And they're keeping good track of us right now and helping us a lot. And a lot of that stuff you see over there was through my son-in-law that we have that you see over there on the. Take a look at it first myself before you do that. That's what the plaque I got from the school district. That was from the school district, that one came. And I don't know why they shortened up the years like that, but that's all right. I'm still happy to get it. Job's daughters for 10 years.
Uh-huh.
That came from the Grand Guardian Council. That's Grand Guardian means estate. the State Guardian Council.